Rogue One was actually a movie that was pitched during the production of Revenge of the Sith, over a decade earlier. The first of a set of anthology Star Wars movies, completely different from the main episodic films in the franchise. Despite being completely separate from the main movies, it was still given a budget of $220 million, making it one of the most expensive films in history. However, as is the case with most studio movies nowadays, the film went through a buttload of behind-the-scenes issues. Constant script rewrites, 5 weeks of reshoots. Alexandra Desplat, the original composer, left due to scheduling conflicts, which ended with new composer Michael Giacchino only having 4 weeks to finish the score. Even the entire ending had to be refilmed. These reshoots also resulted in many scenes featured in the trailers not even being included in the final movie, leading to many speculating that there would be a director's cut. However, director Gareth Edwards said that this would be unlikely, as many of the scenes that were filmed before the reshoots were never even finished. Despite all of these issues, when the movie came out, it was actually well received. Yeah, Rogue One was pretty much the first prequel taking place between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope that fans collectively agreed, yeah, I like this one. But Rogue One represents the main issue I have with Star Wars now. Not absolutely everything needs a backstory. We got Anakin's backstory, then we got Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Han Solo. A pilot in this movie is getting a backstory, for crying out loud. When Marvel first exploded with their barrage of movies, I'm not gonna lie, I was getting serious superhero fatigue. They would release around 3 films a year, and when that is a frequent occurrence, it becomes overkill and it just stops the movies being special. This one came out just a year after The Force Awakens. We had to wait a decade for a new Star Wars movie. This doesn't count. And we finally got one, but then immediately after we get another one, and then they'd end up doing the same thing again after the next one. I'm just starting to get Star Wars fatigue, and that's not even including all the countless TV shows. This is a franchise that used to be so special, but it's now becoming tedious and worn down. And the movies are very often becoming more and more pointless. I mean, Rogue One is about how they managed to get the plans for the Death Star in A New Hope. Yeah, because didn't you watch episode 4 and just wonder how they managed to pull that off? Wasn't this 2+ hour long movie completely warranted to fill that in? Ultimately, this is a 2-hour movie just existing to explain a plot hole.
I've placed a weakness deep within the system. A flaw so small and powerful and they will never find it.
I mean, it still doesn't explain how nobody else in the Empire managed to find this flaw. You could say it was tiny all you want, I'm still calling it contrived. They can make an entire Star Wars movie about anything at this point.
You don't know what you're talking about.
The film follows a little girl called Jin, whose mother is murdered in front of her, and she is rescued by Forrest Whitaker. Whitaker isn't in too much of the movie, but he does fine, even if he does torture a man with a squid. What is it with Star Wars characters and their bizarre means of death? We do learn that he abandoned her when she was 16, but it doesn't really go anywhere, so there's not a whole lot of investment to his character, to be honest. 15 years go by and she's now Felicity Jones, but she assumes her father is dead. But he's played by Mads Mikkelsen, so he can't be disposed of that easily. The constant reshoots are pretty obvious, because the first 30 minutes of the movie is just bouncing from one planet to the other. It's so difficult to keep up where the hell we are. Pick a planet and stick to it. Jin also gets rescued by this droid who spends the first half of the movie trying desperately to be C-3PO.
I'm capable of running my own diagnostics, thank you very much. I can blend in. Did you know that wasn't me?
Although he does have some funny moments.
These are prisoners.
Yes, where are you taking them?
I am taking them to imprison them in prison.
But hey, C-3PO does have a 2-second cameo, so he's not completely forgotten. That's another thing. Disney clearly want to add as much comedy into these films as possible.
Are you kidding me? I'm blind.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
Quiet.
But I must admit, despite my issue with this movie existing, I do find myself more interested in Jin's character than Rey's. Obviously, it's still a generic cliche backstory that's been done to death, but it works and you do root for her. But in the same respect, she's still troubled and not absolutely perfect like Rey was. I feel like this is what Rey should have been. I mean, they're all under attack and she risks her own life to protect a child so they don't suffer the same fate as herself. It's a nice touch. Even if she does immediately take on a million stormtroopers all on her own. She comes across a hologram message from her dad, and admittedly it is well done and quite emotional, even if it is a massive cliche. But my god, they CGI Peter Cushing who had passed away and Carrie Fisher to be young again, and they look fucking terrible. They should be ashamed of themselves. Look at this. They meet up with this blind Donnie Yen who I don't think is a Jedi, but he somehow has spider senses and kicks all kinds of ass. He is amazing in this, even if they get captured straight after anyway. Not only do I find this movie entirely pointless, but after a while it just gets tedious and boring. There's not a whole lot to the story. It's getting the plans to the Death Star while people are trying to kill Jin's father. The characters don't get fleshed out except Jin. That's it. It does eventually pick up a little bit later on, but I struggle to really care that much for the story. It is cool to see Darth Vader again though. We get a cliche pre-battle speech, but fair play to them. They managed to actually get me to care again, even if I'll struggle to care when it actually happens. Oh, and wanna know why it's called Rogue One?
That's an impounded Imperial ship. What's your call sign, pilot?
We have to go.
It's
Say something. Come on.
Rogue? Rogue One.
And I thought Attack of the Clones had a lazy title. The action looks great, but again, I'm not into the story, so it doesn't quite do it for me. They also struggle to transmit a message through the shield to let the others know that they're trapped below, so we have a side quest during a battle because Disney seem to love those in a damn Star Wars movie. But hey, if you thought Disney would forget to insert that trademark George Lucas literal writing...
We're having no effect on that shield.
How much more can that thing take?
He put a fuse in the middle of your machine, and I've just told the entire galaxy how to light it.
The shield is up. Your signal will never reach the rebel base.
Ah, there we go. They've captured the true spirit of Star Wars. The movie just drags. It has such a basic plot and it's stretched way too much. At least Solo is based on an already established character's backstory. This is a brand new story with brand new characters out of thin air for a plot nobody asked for. Jin's father is meant to be this almighty hero, but he's never mentioned in the original trilogy. And there's not a lot of suspense because we know they succeed because they got the damn plans in A New Hope. So why does this movie exist? How many films in this franchise do we need about a fucking Death Star? I thought Disney purchased the rights because they had new ideas for the franchise. 2 movies in and they've done the same shit twice. You know, considering how many fucking wars take place in this universe every few years, I'm just amazed that anyone's left alive anymore. I mean, this looks awesome. It's almost worth sitting through so much boring and unnecessary filler. Almost. But of course, Darth Vader shows up and okay, this scene is incredible and one of the greatest in Star Wars history. He's a damn Terminator and annihilates absolutely everyone in sight. I mean, he didn't move like this or have this much strength or power in A New Hope, but who cares? It looks great. Even if he does sound really old and tired.
Prepare a boarding party.
Can we let James L. Jones retire now, guys? The movie isn't terrible. It has a solid protagonist, a couple of funny moments, and some decent effects. A lot of people enjoyed it, so it's worth a watch for the Vader scene alone, but it just wasn't for me. I found it pointless, padded, and just boring. Erase his existence, and you don't lose a whole lot.